Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is speaking about TRPs. When it comes to the medias, we have two types of media. One is what is called as the print media. The other is what is called as the visual media. So what is the print media? This includes newspaper, this includes magazines, so on and so forth. Then we have something called as the visual media. This includes news channels. This also includes couple of television channels as well. How do we know whether that particular newspaper is good or not? One of the quantifiable data that we have is the number of sales of that newspaper. Let's say for a particular day, the number of sales of Times of India newspaper is about 1 lakh, or let's say the Indian Express is about 90,000, or let's say the Hindu is about 80,000 for a particular day. So one of the quantifiable data that we would be able to see is number of units sold and the number of sales for that particular day. This would give a clear-cut idea as to who is the leader when it comes to the sale of the newspaper. This is how it happens when it comes to the print media. The number of sales, the number of units sold for a particular day or for a particular week or for a month is how we would be able to quantify it, and we would be able to say that this particular newspaper has maximum number of sales. Why is it important? Because on the basis of number of units that are sold, there will be advertisers who would be able to come to that particular newspaper and put up their advertisement. This is how it works in print media. Now let's look at another angle of visual media. What is this visual media? As we initially discussed, this includes the news channels like let's say Republic, or let's say Times Now, or CNN, IBN, so on and so forth, or you can also have other entertainment channels as well. This can be in the form of Star Plus, this can be in the form of MTV, so on and so forth. All this becomes the part of visual media. Now the question is, how do we quantify them? How do we understand that this news channel or this entertainment channel and its program is much better? And that is quantified, and we are able to come to a conclusion that this particular program at that particular time is right and has much better ratings using what is called as TRPs. So what is this TRPs? This is nothing but the television rating point, which basically represents the number of people who are viewing that particular channel, who are watching that particular program, depending on the socio-economic categories and for how much of a time for a particular period is being watched. That is what is called as the television rating point. So basically, if we have to put it in simplest of terms, all those people who are watching a particular channel or a program for a particular period of time, which happens to be over a minute, that is what is called as the television rating points. Using this, they would be able to calculate the viewership and the program of that particular channel. Why is it important? As we initially discussed, let's say for example, we take the example of the Hindu itself. The Hindu is one of the important newspaper when it comes to the civil service examination. There are a couple of tuition centers which actually want to put up the newspaper ads. So where do they put? Will they put it in Times of India? No. Will they put it in some other newspaper? No. They ideally choose Hindu as one of the newspaper. Why? Because maximum number of UPSC students usually prefer reading to Hindu. That's why most of the tuition centers, in case they want to pull the students towards the tuition centers, that is where they actually put up an advertisement in the Hindu. Similarly, let's say for example, there is a target audience for the advertising company. Where do they put it? That is where there is maximum viewership. So this TRP defines which advertising company will have their advertisements under which channel. Let's say for example, we have to showcase one of the ads of Surf Excel, or we have to showcase an ads of the phone as well. In all these cases, we actually look at the television rating point, which means more number of people are looking into this particular channel at that particular time. So we have advertisements coming up to that channel. So better the ratings, better is for the channel, more promotion for the program, and all these advertising companies will have their ads posted on this particular channel. So the advertising rates for a particular channel are determined by the TRPs. Therefore, when it comes to India, the TRP is calculated by an Indian agency called as the Broadcast Audience Research Council, and it uses one of the tools, and that tool is what is called as the barometer. What is this BARC? This is nothing but an industrial body which has multiple stakeholders coming into picture. You have the advertisers, you have the ad agencies, you also have the broadcasting companies as well. All these stakeholders come together and they have created an industrial body, and that happens to be Broadcast Audience Research Council. This happens to be the world's largest television audience measurement service. This industrial body usually releases what is called as the weekly TRPs every Thursday, ranking all the TV channels as well as the TV programs. Now the question is, how does this whole process work? We have the BARC which enters into agreement with couple of field agencies. So who are these field agencies? It is they who install this particular tool of barometer in all the TVs, that is in the 45,000 empaneled households. So kindly remember, when it comes to the TRP, the entire nation is not considered. There are selected houses, let's say about 45,000. There is a particular tool called as barometer. This is installed in all their TVs and their houses will be monitored. So if you have a presumption that the entire country is taken into picture, that is a wrong assumption. But what we have to consider is there are about 45,000 households, or it can be more in the near future as well, and there is a tool called as barometer which will be installed in all their TVs, and their data will be connected to make sure that we have something called as the TRP. So kindly remember, in all these cases it is not the entire country, it is only these selected households where what they view, which channel they view, how long they view is to be taken in this particular tool, and this tool will be analyzed by BARC and weekly data will be given in the form of statistics as well. Why are we discussing all this? That is because the Mumbai police have now alleged that households were being paid to manipulate the data. What do we mean by it? Let's say for example, as we initially discussed, the BARC is just an industrial body which actually puts out the statistics, but we have couple of agencies which actually install this tool of barometer into the households and their TVs as well. In case we are able to enter into an agreement with one of the field agencies and we ask them that what are the households that you have selected, and if this media house is able to pay the bribes to the household and ask them to watch a particular channel for a longer period of time, it means there is a viewership only for that particular channel, which means there is fabrication of data indirectly. What is happening right now? Mumbai police now allege that there is one of the field agencies called as Hansa which has compromised the data, given the households data to the media houses, and the media houses have indirectly approached the households and they have paid the bribe, and this means that they have the TRPs in their kitty, which also means there will be more advertisements, which also means there is more ads as well, and they have fabricated the data indirectly is what this article all about. It is this that we have to understand with reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the Comptroller and Auditor General and its role during the COVID-19 crisis. What is this article all about? COVID-19 has hit us all very badly. We are bleeding both on the economic front and also on the health front as well. On the health front, people are losing lives, and on the other side, we also have to make sure that they are protected as well. In order to protect them, both people as well as the doctors who are taking care of them, the COVID warriors, what we require is resources. So what are these resources? This might be in the form of oxygen cylinders, this might be in the form of sanitizers, this can be in the form of masks or any of the personal protection kits as well. What does this PPE kit include? This includes the head cap, the safety goggles, the surgical mask, the gloves that the doctors wear, the full body cover so that the doctors can take care of them and can prevent the virus entering them. We also have the full size shoe cover, sanitizer pouch pack, and the waste bag where they can dump all these PPE after the use as well. So the PPE includes all these procurement made by the state government or the central government for the doctors. What is the issue here? We have the recent update from the state of Karnataka. So what is the update? The Karnataka state legislature under the Public Accounts Committee sensed something unusual. They felt that the government of Karnataka has procured certain PPE kits at a rate which is far superior in nature. Ideally, we have inferior state of kits, the PPE kits, where the prices that are paid for these PPE kits are far more than what is present in the market. Hypothetical numbers, let's say for example, whatever we discussed, the headgear, the mask, so on and so forth, in a number can cost about 1000 rupees. Let's assume it is about 1000 rupees. But what this article is saying is that they would have paid more than what is in the market rate, and they might have procured it at around 5000 rupees. So what we see is there is excessive corruption is what the article alleges. So what is the Karnataka State Legislature's Public Account Committee done? They have asked the Comptroller and Auditor General to perform a special audit into the purchase of the COVID-19 equipment. So what is this special audit? Basically, when there is certain suspicion. So whenever there is a doubt that this particular specific item, the special item, requires certain regulations or the rules that have been laid have been violated in terms of financial management, that is where the special auditing takes place. So when we are speaking about the general audit, it is about the entire administration. But when we are speaking about the special audit, there is a violation with respect to a specific item or with respect to a special agenda as well. So what happens here is that certain specific areas of activities will be taken into picture, and that will be identified by the Comptroller and Auditor General. So this special audit in the present scenario is about violation of terms and conditions when it comes to the procuring COVID-19 equipment. And at the same time, it has also asked the CAG to audit the expenditure incurred by the state government under the State Disaster Response Fund. What exactly happens? We have money that is present in the State Disaster Response Fund for the state of Karnataka. The money that is present was also used for procuring couple of equipments as well for different districts in Karnataka. Whether this particular expenditure made by the state government of Karnataka, is it right? Check the efficiency, check if the outcome is present, if the output that has been showed is right or wrong, is what is being discussed under this particular notification. So the Karnataka State Legislature's Public Account Committee has requested the Comptroller and Auditor General to perform the audit of all these things so that they would be able to identify in case there are any corruption charges in the state of Karnataka. So the point that we have to remember is that because there are corruption charges, we would be able to identify if this is right or wrong. In case there is corruption, the same can be revealed by the CAG report is what this article all about. In case it is proved that there are corruption charges, what would be the impact? Basically, when you look at the CAG, it has the constitutional and statutory mandate to ensure public accountability, transparency, effective service delivery, and also maintain good governance in the country. That is why they conduct the audit as well. When you go back to the 2G scam or when you go back to the Colgate scam, it was the CAG which actually came out with this particular viewpoint that there was large scale issues when it comes to the administration of 2G as well as the Colgate as well. So what actually happened? We have one of the governments which was in power back then, and this government was completely removed by the people of India. So in case there are any corruption charges that are proved in the near future, and if it is proved by the report of the CAG, what we will have is that the people will realize that there is excessive corruption in the system even during the COVID-19 times, and the people will throw this particular government in the near future. That would be the major impact if it is proved that there are corruption during the COVID-19 times for procuring of the COVID-19 equipments. So what this will usher is better transparency, integrity, honesty, effective service delivery, and compliance with the rules and procedures of the governance. In case they have been violated, it means that they don't deserve to stay in power, and the people of the country will decide, and the people of the state will decide if the political party has to be given the power next time. That will be the impact with respect to the CAG report. So basically, this issue is all about purchase of inferior quality of personal protective equipment kits. Therefore, in the near future, whenever there is a presumption of corruption, this will have to be evaluated by the comptroller and auditor general. In case there have been violations of law, in case the rules that are present are amended as well, they are changed, and this is to the whims and fancies of the executive, they should also be held accountable as well. So substantial improvement when it comes to the disaster management, when it comes to the procuring the kits, will be kept accountable is the first major advantage. This will also establish, and this will also have effective control over the expenses as well. How? Let's say for example, just because there is no one that is actually keeping a check on the executive during the testing times, that is why they are into all these corruptions. So if we have the CAG which is having a vigilant eyes on the executive and their expenses are being monitored, what we will have is that these expenses will be following all the rules and regulations. If there is no one watching the government or the executive, they might spend anything as well, but if there is an audit of the particular expenditure, they are kept under the check, and the expenses in case are being done, the expenditure will also be kept under check when it comes to the market conditions. The third important advantage is there will be focus on the expense tracking, and this will also mean achievement of outputs and outcome as well. What is the difference between output and outcome? Let's say for example, the output is what is the projected numbers, but the outcome is the real numbers. Let's say for example, if this PPE kit is procured, there are about 10 PPE kits that are procured, but only 5 is used, but 10 is the projected number. So the 10 that is procured is what the government anticipated, that becomes the output. But when it comes to the outcome, how many people have used this particular PPE kit, that becomes the outcome. So what we have is that particular number. In case there is requirement of about 20 PPE kits or about 100 PPE kits, 1000 PPE kits, why is that? The government has actually procured excessive PPE kits in spite of it not being used. So all these numbers will be kept under check, and these are the advantages in case there is an audit that is conducted by the CAG. So what are the benefits of inspection? What we will have is proper records, documentation, authenticity, reliable complete information and data, providing assurance to the people's representatives, taxpayers and public at large as to how the government is using the taxpayers money for the people in return. So all this will be inspected by the comptroller and auditor general. So kindly remember, going forward, in case there are public entities and their management, they must be held accountable. They should ensure that the resources are managed properly, they are used in compliance with the rules and regulations as laid by the rule of law, programs are achieving their objectives, that is output is not important, but the outcome of this particular program is to be expected, and all this will have to be provided efficiently, effectively and economically is what we have to understand with reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about fight of Paytm against the Google. What is the issue here? We have Paytm which was taken off the Google Play Store. Why? Because Google feels that there were certain rules and regulations that had to be complied by Paytm. Since they violated all these rules and regulations, they were taken off the Play Store. Now it is available on the Play Store, but it was suspended temporarily, which means that in case there are people who are wanting to download Paytm, they would not be able to do so, or in case they have to update their software with respect to Paytm once again, they would not be able to do so. So the Paytm in this particular backdrop has confirmed that Google has taken this drastic step without even asking the opinion of Paytm. This has ultimately led to a raging debate among couple of stakeholders that Google's power over all these applications has been abused because of its market dominance. In this particular backdrop, we have to understand what are the various concerns with respect to Google. What are these concerns? We have couple of smartphones in India. Most of these smartphones, whether it is Samsung, whether it is OnePlus, whether it is Lenovo, or multiple other smartphones as well, they are based on the Google's Android operating system. Since Google has this operating system in all these smartphones, it is able to dictate the terms because it has captured the market. There are other smartphones as well, there are other operating system as well, but the dominant one is the Google's Android. So it is it which is able to capture the dominance, and it is also able to dictate the terms is the first major concern. Followed by this, we have couple of Indian applications like Paytm. We also have something like PhonePe, and all these are used for digital transactions. But there is also a competition from Google Pay as well. So this Google Pay is another digital transaction tool, and that is created by Google. So what we have is Google, since it owns the Android, since it owns the Play Store, what we actually see is conflict of interest as well. So what happens here? Google Pay will be projected, and in case there are people who want to install Paytm or they want to install PhonePe, that is not being let by Google because it is promoting its own digital tool, and that happens to be Google Pay. Next important concern is that this particular Paytm was taken off the Play Store. Why? Because there were certain violations, says the Google. What are these violations? That is true with respect to the gambling. So according to laws in India, gambling should not be promoted. So it is being assumed that Paytm was promoting gambling indirectly. That is why they were taken off, and that is why they were asked to make changes and rules, and that is why they were removed from the Play Store temporarily. What we also have to understand is that Google Pay also has a similar campaign, and that happens to be Taste Shots. So if Paytm has done something wrong, Google Pay has also committed a similar mistake as well. So the question that is now being asked is, does Google have own set of policies for its own applications and different set of policy guidelines for a different application not developed by Google? So Google as a result has enormous control of all the applications which we download via the Play Store. So the fundamental question is, has Google abused its market dominance? Are there barriers to entry? Is competition being thwarted by the Google? Under this particular backdrop, what we have to understand is that Google has been found to be guilty of abuse of its dominant position and unfair trade practices by the European Commission previously. Even in India, we have a case that is being investigated by the Competition Commission of India, where Google Pay is being currently promoted, and this is at the cost of other digital payments as well. So the Competition Commission of India is looking at Section 4 of the Competition Act of 2002, which is speaking about abuse of the dominant position. Now the question is, what is this abuse of the dominant position? We have to look at what is dominance. Dominance here basically stands for the market share of that particular enterprise or a group of enterprises concerned. In case they control the largest market in that particular region, that is what is called as dominance. So what is abuse here? Abuse can be categorized into two broad categories. One is what is called as exploitative, the other is what is called as exclusionary. So what is this exploitative in nature? This means for a particular product or for a particular service, in case there is excessive or discriminatory pricing, that is what is called as exploitative. And when it comes to the exclusionary, it means they are denying the market access to their competitors. So can we say in this particular position, because Google was to promote Google Pay, they were in a condition that they wanted to take out the competition in the form of Paytm. So basically, when we are speaking about abuse of dominance, it includes a dominant firm or a group of dominant firms where the conduct of the activity is against the competition. This is to eliminate the competitors or to prevent any of the future competitors to come and step into the market. In all these cases, in order to prevent the abuse of dominance, what we have is the Competition Commission of India stepping into picture. We have one of the sections called as Section 27 of the Competition Act of 2002. According to it, the Competition Commission of India can direct a particular company to discontinue a particular agreement, pay penalty, or even modify the agreement such that there is no exclusionary tactics or exploitative techniques that are introduced by this very company. In this particular backdrop, we also have to look whether the Indian startups can take on the global internet giants. What are the concerns when it comes to this particular issue? When it comes to the Indian startups, what we have is the infrastructure lacuna. We have all these services that are provided by Google or by Facebook or by example the Amazon. They have huge infrastructure that they are able to support, but that is not there with respect to India. So what we witness is the infrastructure lacuna. So can Indian companies take on the giant companies? Yes, they can if India is able to build on the infrastructure front. Then we are very good at software. India is also called as the IT hub as well, and when it comes to Bangalore, it is also called as the Silicon Valley of India. So when it comes to the software, what we have is advanced level of software development. That is not the same when it comes to the hardware development. When it comes to the hardware, what we require is the most important factor, that is chip making. That is currently not present in India. So while we are increasing with respect to the software development, that is not the same when it comes to the hardware development. So what India has to do is engage itself when it comes to the hardware as well. And the third is with respect to the venture capitalists. There is increasing cases where funding is being contributed in United States of America or for example in China as well. That is currently not present when it comes to India, are some of the major concerns, and that is the primary reason why Indian companies are not able to take on some of the giants like the Amazon, Facebook, Google or Microsoft. So can we also look at Atmanirbhar Bharat? Yes, we can look at it, but in case India wants to become a self-reliant when it comes to all these applications, what we will have is one of the concerns as well. What is this concern? India, in case it is looking at self-reliance, what we would also mean is that some of the customers who would also be looking at the options of getting some of the advanced quality software and development will not be able to get it. Instead, we might also have sub-power products as well. Only when there is competition, what we will have is options, and only when there is options, what we will have is a quality product. In case there are all these companies which are pushed out and we rely only on the Indian made products, what we will have is less options, and ultimately we would not be in a position to select what we want and quality will be compromised. So what is the way forward? So going forward, in case there are antitrust actions globally, like for example European Union or for example countries like France and United Kingdom, they have all come together and they have used their policy making to make sure that these companies are punished as well. So in case there are such activities, in case there are such action groups across the world, India will also have to enter that particular action group and will have to punish the companies in case they are abusing the market. And going forward, India will also have to develop its own giant as well, which is in competition with Google or in competition with Facebook. So this will require a long-term approach and strategic planning for the development of such companies. We also have to make sure that there are specific technologies and companies that we are employing. Let's say for example, India is very good at a particular technology and there is a particular company which is good at that technology. So what should the government do? The government should identify such a company, should provide all the subsidies to that particular company, provide tax incentives as well, so that this company is able to take its technological tool and compete at the global level. So identifying a specific technology and the company which is developing it will have to be identified by the government so that this can be taken on in the global arena. And finally, what we require is some of the institutions like the Competition Commission of India, which is also able to ensure that abuse of the dominance in the market is not actually persisting by enforcing penological principles on all these companies. So going forward, policymakers, that is the government, government of India and the government of the states will have to make sure that there is no conflict of interest in the internet domain, which has to be regulated by the government of India. And we also require the regulators like the Competition Commission of India, which needs to stay ahead of the curve as the country enters into the digital economy. It is this that we have to understand with reference to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says Assam jails cannot be detention centers, says Guwahati High Court. Before we understand what this article is all about, we have to understand the concept of detention centers. What are these detention centers? Basically, let's say for example, there is a foreigner who has entered into India illegally without any papers, without the government giving consent to it. That particular person who is a foreigner who has not been given permission by the government of India happens to become an illegal migrant. Let's take another condition as well. Let's say there is a foreigner who has come to India. The government of India has given permission to that particular person to stay in India for a particular period of time. This can be about 1 year as well. But after 1 year, he either has to get back to his home country or he has to get the permission from government of India. In case both is not taken into picture, but he happens to live in India beyond a particular period of time, again he happens to be an illegal immigrant. So what happens here? We have two types of people. One who does not have any type of papers, the government has not given the permission, and the other is where the government has given the permission only for a specific period of time, but this person has exceeded the time limit and still continues to live in India. In all these cases, these people become the illegal migrants, and these people, if they are caught by the government of India, will have to be put in a particular center, and that center is what is called as the detention center. So these people will be put in one of the centers called as the detention centers. What is the issue here? Right now, when you speak about the detention centers, these are not supposed to be housed in the jails. But what is happening in the state of Assam? We have the jails in the state of Assam, and it is in these jails that we also have the illegal migrants who are stepping into, and they are detained in the jails. So according to the Guwahati High Court, it currently goes on to say that there is something called as the model manual for the detention center. According to this manual, all the detention centers will have to be set up outside the jail premises. But what is happening right now is that these detention centers are housed within the jail premises. So it is saying that you, the state government, will have to make sure that in the near future these detention centers should not be part of the jail premises. In case you do not have the infrastructure, in case you do not have the center, kindly make sure that you have a private building that you take up, and all these illegal migrants will have to be in that detention center, which is not part of the jail premises. It further goes on to say that in all these detention centers, when you set it up outside the jail premises, they will also have to be provided with electricity, water and hygiene along with the security, says the Guwahati High Court. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into some of the preliminary practice questions. Which of the following are correctly matched with reference to the graded response action plan? Severe plus or emergency, there is stopping of the construction work. Severe, you have the closing of brick kilns, hot mix plants as well as stone crushers. Very poor, strict enforced ban on the firecrackers. Moderate to poor air pollution, stop use of diesel generator sets. Which of them are correctly matched? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. So this graded response action plan basically works as an emergency measure. What is it? There are certain benchmarks that are laid, that is PM 2.5 over 300 microcubic meter, 2.5 over 250 microcubic meter, 121 250 microcubic meter and 61 120 microcubic meter. These benchmarks are laid, and only when there is excessive pollution that we see, that is when such and such plan will be initiated. In case it is moderate to poor, what we will have is all these steps that are taken, like enforcing the strict ban on the firecrackers. In case it is very poor, what we will have is stopping the use of diesel generator sets, enhancing the parking fee by 3 to 4 times, increasing the bus and metro services. In case there is severe particulate matter 2.5. What we will have is maximum power generation from natural gas, then to reduce the generation from coal. This will also encourage public transport with differential rates as well. And what we will also have is closing of brick kilns, hot mix plants and stone crushers. In case the PM 2.5 is more than 300 micrograms, then what we will also have is stopping the entry of trucks into Delhi, stopping the construction work, introducing odd even scheme and task force to decide any additional steps including shutting of the schools. So this graded response action plan is on the basis of particulate matter 2.5, a benchmark. If it is crossed, what are the steps that needs to be taken is what this graded response action plan is all about. Now let's look into the next practice question. Paris Peace Accords is an agreement on ending the war and restoring peace. Is it in Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan and Syria? The answer to this is Vietnam. Why have we taken this practice question? Because it makes a reference to Indochina peace reference. So kindly remember, when we are speaking about Indochina, it includes three countries. One is Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. And when it comes to the peace accords of the Paris, it speaks about ending the war in Vietnam. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to South Asia Economic Focus Report, which of the following statements is or correct? It is released by the World Bank. It is an annual economic update presenting recent economic developments and a near-term economic outlook for South Asia. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is one only. Why? Because yes, this is right. It is released by World Bank, but this is not an annual economic update, but instead it is biannual. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. Kindly remember, when it comes to this particular report, it includes a focus section presenting more in-depth analysis of the economic topic of relevance for stability, growth and prosperity in the South Asian region, which includes countries like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So what it will basically do, it will provide an idea, analysis of key indicators and economic and financial developments in this particular region. So kindly remember, this is a biannual series that is prepared by the Office of Chief Economist for the South Asian region. Now let's look into the next practice question. Economic justice as one of the objectives of the Indian Constitution has been provided. Is it in preamble and fundamental rights, the preamble and directive principles of state policy, the fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy, or none of the above? The answer to this is B, that is the preamble and the directive principles of state policy. Now let's look into the mains practice question. Discuss the importance of Comptroller and Auditor General in auditing disaster related disbursements and procurement process with emphasis on all purchases of COVID-19 equipment. Next question. What do you understand by abuse of dominance in the market? Has Google misused its dominant position in India? Substantiate. So please write all your answers on the comment section. Peer review, come up with constructive criticism. This is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.